Okay, so let's dive into this really complex and deeply important story from India. We're talking about a social hierarchy that's, believe it or not, 3,000 years old, and a radical, modern political experiment designed to tear it down. This is the story of an unfinished revolution.
And we have to start here, with these final, heartbreaking words from a brilliant young PhD scholar named Rohit Vemula. His suicide note, it wasn't just about a personal tragedy. It spoke for the agony of generations. It tells you that for millions of people, caste isn't some abstract idea. It's a verdict delivered the moment you're born.
And this is absolutely not a relic of the past. For so many, caste is still this oppressive force that follows them from the cradle to the grave, shaping literally every part of their life. So the big question is, how does an ancient system like this keep its grip in the 21st century? Well, let's break down the invisible architecture that creates these systemic barriers throughout a person's life.
When you look at it across a lifetime, you really see how devastatingly total the system is. It starts at birth, with higher mortality rates for children from historically oppressed groups, what are known as scheduled castes or Dalits. Then you see it in education, this silent exodus from universities because of discrimination. And it goes all the way to the very end, being denied access to a common burial ground. It's a structure of exclusion that operates at every single stage of life.
So whenever you hear about high dropout rates, the official story often blames the individuals, right? A lack of skills or they couldn't cope. But the research shows these are just deflections. They're hiding what one report calls the elephant in the room, persistent, systemic caste discrimination.
But it's not the whole story. In the southern state of Tamil Nadu, a really unique political and social experiment has been going on for over a century, and it's designed to actively dismantle this very system.
It's called the Dravidian Model. At its heart, it's an ideology that uses the power of the government to fight back against caste hierarchy. It's this mix of social justice, rationalism, and welfare programs, all aimed at empowering marginalized communities and basically trying to reshape the very fabric of society.
And this isn't something that just popped up overnight. The model's roots go way, way back to social reform movements in the early 20th century, movements that challenged religious and caste traditions. By the 1960s, these radical ideas were actually being turned into state policy.
The strategy is really multi-pronged. On one hand, it uses widespread affirmative action, they call it reservations, to force open the doors to education and jobs. At the same time, it builds this universal safety net with things like free meals and transport. And then it also tackles the ideology head-on by challenging the religious justifications for caste and promoting a shared, unified Tamil identity.
Okay, so that's the theory. But let's get to the data and see how this grand experiment has actually played out on the ground. The big question, has it worked? Get this. This one number is the cornerstone of the whole approach. In Tamil Nadu, a whopping 69% of all seats in public education and government jobs are reserved for marginalized communities. It is one of the most extensive affirmative action policies anywhere in the world, and it was designed to force open doors that had been sealed shut for centuries.
And the results? Well, they're complicated. The model has created huge progress for what are called the other backward classes, or OBCs. As you can see, they're now pretty well represented across all income levels. But for the most historically oppressed groups, the scheduled castes, it's a different story. They're still way overrepresented in the lowest income bracket and seriously underrepresented at the top. It just goes to show that while the model absolutely creates mobility, that old hierarchy is a tough nut to crack. Now this reveals a whole new challenge. Competition for elite universities is getting more and more intense, so the entrance exam cutoffs are rising for everybody. But look at how they're rising. The bar is going up the fastest for scheduled caste students. It creates an even higher barrier for the very communities the policy is supposed to be helping.
And this really brings us to the central contradiction of this whole story. Despite decades of these really radical policies, the revolution against caste is far from over. The progress is real for sure, but so are the paradoxes.
So that leads us to this really difficult question. Getting in is one thing, but staying in? That's a whole other battle. Because once they're on campus, students from marginalized backgrounds often face this culture of exclusion, not enough support, and that's what leads to this silent exodus. And this quote, it just gets right to the heart of what that experience is like on the inside. Think about this. 98% of faculty at the top engineering schools, the IITs, are from privileged castes.
That means there's a profound lack of mentorship, of understanding. It creates this isolating environment where students don't just feel unwelcome, they feel invisible.
And here's where you can see that disconnect in a really practical way. Social science has shown us time and again that something as simple as eating together builds trust and cooperation. It's a basic tool for social cohesion. Yet on some of India's most elite campuses, there are reports of segregated canteens. In practice, they're reinforcing the very divisions these institutions are supposed to be breaking down.
And you know, this fight isn't just on campus. The caste system is resilient. It adapts. It's like a virus. It finds new life in modern settings, from corporate hiring programs that favor dominant caste networks, to segregated housing in big cities, and even the spread of caste prejudice online.
Which leaves us with this final, massive question. The Dravidian model proves that policy can be a powerful, powerful weapon against inequality. It can open doors, it can create opportunity, it can lift millions of people. But can laws and policies alone really erase a social code that's been embedded in a culture for thousands of years? That right there remains the central question in this unfinished revolution.